only what it paid in the prior year. My concerns regarding our contract to extend even further than this, but not all of it can be covered in just a couple minutes, so I'll leave it here. But I am here tonight to strongly urge you to familiarize yourselves with the terms that govern this data. Thank you.
Next. Larry? Come on over.
All right, right here.
That's fine with me.
I'm right here, live at 508 Pine Street here in Woodward. Noticed on the agenda today that there is a proposal to do another water and sewer rate study. It seems like we went through this exercise not very long ago, when it was proposed that we might have to look at a 10 to 15% rate increase. There was a pretty vocal group that was adamant about having a study done. So that happened. Took about a year, I think, before the initial proposal came out, before there was actually a 10% rate increase implemented. And that was after spending several $1,000s on a consultant to do that. I would just ask that you look at maybe just crunching the numbers in-house. You know, we know what our costs are, we know what the revenue is, we know what anticipated increases are going to be due to inflation and just annual cost of doing business. So I would ask that you look pretty strongly at doing this in-house rather than hiring an outside consultant.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I will close the citizen input section. All right, Steve, can you give us this project manager report?
With the 94 force main replacement and lift station upgrades, Young has about 12,000 feet 18-inch ISC polyethylene pipe in the ground along Old Woodward Road. They spent the last 2 weeks fusing pipe ahead of trenching operations. So they can all fuse and roll it off into the trench more efficiently. They're diligently working on cleanouts along the river also. They've got quite a mess with the encountered rock to deal with to get that cleaned up. We submitted partial payment request number 8 to EPA for $159,000 and received tentative approval. We haven't received the word to transfer that money yet, but it should be coming soon. The Meadows connection to City Spring. Wallace has completed gravity main installation and line testing. They've experienced a delay installing a flow meter at the airport lift station due to an incorrect signal cable. Cable is expected to arrive soon. Cleanup and side restoration are basically complete. Change order number 2 to J.A. Wallace was issued in amount of $66,000. Change order involved a stub, a 15-inch line across Farm Road 3, the Flynn property for future development. Additional electrical rack at the airport lift station. Replacement of stormwater collar along the 6 and along 3. And addition of a 10-inch gate valve controlling the flow of the lagoons. All these change order items have been completed. So we're basically down waiting on cable. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
No, I would never seen the fused pipes unless one of our aldermen pushed me off the trail and through the bushes this morning. But I didn't see the next road after I crashed, I saw it because somebody was on the trail taking up the whole trail, and I had tried to go through the woods to get around it, and
Yes.
so. But yes, they're making great progress up there. They're moving along.
The two trenching operations are within sight of each other.
Oh, wow.
And they get that trench opened up, and they start peeling pipe in the ditch. Bedding it, then peeling pipe in and back up.
Yeah.
And I did put a report because this came up today. The electrical subcontractor for Young's 94 lift station is gearing up to start work here later this week. So the variable frequency drives, switchgear, conduits, things like that.
Yeah, Sam was talking about that this morning. I think they need like 200 feet of line to reach the control box or around. Sam was giving me a lesson on the nomenclature this morning about testing the valve and, or what do you call that valve, Mike? The variable flow, partial flu, so. I'm learning all kinds of new words.
Spelling, yep.
All right, thanks, Steve. Anybody got questions? Jerry, fire, any of all this stuff is. All right, well, thanks, sir, we appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, resolution. Holly, did you say you want us to add some verbiage to this, or are you okay with the way it is?
It's correct.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for professional consulting services for a comprehensive water and sewer rate study.
Good evening. It's good to see you guys again. My name is Jacob. I'm from Great River Engineering. So I think you guys have had a chance now to review the information that was selected through the RFP process, my firm, what we provided for you guys to select us over other consultants. And so I don't know how much you want to hash out on that front end, or if you want to talk more about the actual agreement and the scope of services. So we can do both, one or the other. Anybody have a preference, Mayor? We talk more about the RFQ process or the actual study?
I'm not interested in the RFQ process, really
Okay.
just the highlights, unless somebody else has something more detailed they wanna ask.
What, for those who might not know, why are we doing a rate study again just after we have one?
Because, well, I know there's a difference between study and review, but you know, we committed in ordinance when we finished last time to review annually. So
Just
that
see
way,
where we are.
the objective being that if, you know, if there's an incremental increase needed or hopefully maintain the status quo, the smaller percentage, that way we recognize it now versus going 5 years down the road and like, oh, wow, we need a 20%.
It was also part of the audit.
And it was part of the state audit came back,
Told us that we needed to.
saying that we needed to make sure that we stay on top
I
of
thought
it.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I agree with that stance on incremental adjustments yearly. Every other bill does that. It's much more easier it's a smaller spoon, right? Smaller spoon to eat off of than doing a big jump. That's really hard on families to jump up on that. So I think that's the right approach. Another thing that I would suggest to consider, and there'll be a lot to consider for these rate studies, is to set that up in your ordinances, you know, per legal agreement, in your codes to where the city can do that without a rate study, right? So every year you can do a minor increase, either based off of a preset schedule or a preset, say, inflation amount or something, you know, tie it to some national metric to where you can adjust it within a certain range as needed and make sure that's, you know, established before you actually finish your ordinance revision. So something to consider there. You know, as far as rate studies themselves, there's a lot to go over, right? A lot of revenues and expenses, as was mentioned before, considering inflation. But one thing that's important from the engineering side is your infrastructure, right? You have a expiration on every piece of infrastructure component needed to maintain or operate your system. And each one of those has to be maintained or replaced at a certain date, right? At a certain time. You need to have money to do that. So it's not necessarily as simple as, do I have enough revenue to cover my expenses? It's, do I have enough revenue to operate the system sufficiently? And that's where the engineering side comes in, so.
We do need to determine tonight whether or not we're doing the, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 24/5 option or the 39.5.
That's correct, yeah, so in discussions with Mike and the city staff, several weeks ago, we talked about a lot within the scope, but I wasn't sure what your budget was, and so I prepared two different options here. There are two different buckets that you guys can choose from. Essentially, this is kind of an à la carte, you can choose this or choose that. I wasn't sure exactly which one of those you guys want to commit on, but I did kind of group them in two options, a comprehensive or a narrowed. So the comprehensive is that 39,500, the narrowed is the 24,500. The differences there are obviously scope, but how much analysis do you want us to consider? How much information do you want us to bring to you to make your decision for the rate adjustments? So that could be number of options, what type of public education involvement do you want us to have? And I can go down each one of those, what the differences are there if you'd like me to.
Gina, can you bring up, I think it's the last page in the packet.
Yeah, there is a table I provided.
A table that has the comparisons between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, give me just a second, because I can bring the new one. So that's what it is.
It looks like this.
Should be on that, I think it's in the back, it's page 112.
Just have to turn there, your last page. There, look at that.
And one thing we were trying to do with the RFQ, was we wanted to extend it out a 10-year period, giving us more time to recoup costs and we didn't want to increase rates extremely with a 5-year plan, so we wanted to extend it out. That helps us with transparency year to year also, so we kind of know, what we have left coming. So that's what this table is gonna show. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, and that's a component of the difference. Another major difference that was discussed a lot at the meeting and was outlined in RFQ is your in-city limits versus out-of-city limits rate structures. So what we talked about at our meeting is to calculate the out-of-city pretty much separately. And the way you do that is it has separate infrastructure. It has more pumping costs, for example, for your sewer. Things like that. It has a separate structure, separate user base to consider their system separately, and then let's look at how that affects the rest of the city. So if they have their own infrastructure, just like this in-cities does, it needs to be paid for appropriately, especially given that the out-of-city limits isn't paying, your typical tax base like the in-city limits is. That's a very common way to look at this. Traditionally, it's just 50% more than in-city limits. That's like a standard industry value. But if you really want to get down into the weeds, that is one way to do that, is to look at it as a complete separate system. And that comprehensive would do just that, as a separate analysis.
Okay, and in I'm looking at this, in the less expensive.
Yep.
Setting, so
Yes.
to speak.
Yep.
The public education is not included. So if we go with the higher cost, you guys will do the presentation, so to speak.
Yeah, the presentations would occur regardless. The public education, the only differences between those two is just a mailer. So we'll custom make a mailer for you that outlines what information that we agree upon to provide on that, whether it's why you're doing the study or why you're doing the rate adjustments or what the rate adjustments are for the next 10 years or however you want to go about it. We can do that. We've done that for other clients as well. And again, like I said before, this is a la carte. So if you don't want a mailer, you want a handout, we can do that. Or if you wanted, whichever. There's options.
Would prevent anybody that appeared from being hung out publicly for a typo if you guys did it.
That's correct, yeah.
Sure, be nice.
Yep.
And then another thing that's on both that's I think worth mentioning is that we'll compare against similar communities. This is something we've done before. This is something we're doing for other communities right now. And so it'll give you a good reference point for not only where other cities are currently at, but you actually will get the advantage by selecting us that you'll get what other cities will be. hopefully if the timing works out, I can provide that information, but, we're doing this for at least 2 other communities at the moment, so you'll have some good information to go off of.
The difference in the two, that's pretty substantial is one is a separate rate analysis versus going on a presumption of the 50%.
Yep.
So that's substantial based on you guys' discussions previously. I don't want you to miss that fact. He's either gonna do an assumption if you're gonna use the coupon and go with the cheaper, or a true rate study where he's going to explain to you why that difference matters.
Yep. And another thing I know that's been talked about at, within your guys' discussions is a possible future treatment facility within the city's ownership and not.
Stand by.
We were asked to be here for our opinion matters, so we're doing our best to keep quiet. People have mics, it's probably easier to hear.
Go ahead.
So another thing is the future treatment plant, right? There's talk about the city potentially owning and operating your own treatment facility to disconnect yourself from the city of Springfield. Well, that is a very large expenditure to upfront to do that. And so to plan for that is something, that would be done in the comprehensive, and it is another large thing within the comprehensive study that we would not do in the narrative study.
And that would be the 10-year model versus the 5.
Correct, yeah.
Could it be done in a 10-year model?
Yeah, that would be done in a 10-year model, yep, 39. Correct.
So if we go the 10-year model, and again, not trying to say anything.
Just say it.
I mean,
You're not gonna hurt my.
No, there are certain things that you guys, I'll make it easier. There are certain things you guys are aware of that are not public yet that you cannot discuss.
so if we go the 10-year model, does that get us good for a 10-year rate study that we're not having to do it over again?
In theory, but in reality, no. We used to be the standard up until probably the mid-teens. And we found that the markets fluctuate so much, as well as the regulations that are in place that fluctuate so much, that as well as your development level within your city can be so dramatic that that data becomes outdated. So you really are, I think it's fair to say now, a 3 to 5 year status versus, especially if you're looking at growth. If you guys stay the same and don't make changes, sure, you can stay on the 10. But if you grow, if you annex, if you add a lot more developments, it's, and we already know we've got some other developments that are in the ticker, then it's going to be out of date because of capacity.
I think that's perfect. I can say it better myself.
So I mean,
So, well, I'll ask the question then, so are we better off then to go with a smaller scope then? To plan
No.
ahead, because we're gonna have to redo it in a few years?
You're gonna have to redo it, but the problem is, and this is what happened with you guys before, you did a shorter study, so the funding was on a short scale, and then you decided to put it off. And so instead of budgeting on the 10 years, even though maybe in those last 5 of that 10, you need to go even higher because of changes, you have lost the initial 5. And so that's the problem. That's why a 10-year study is good, but at midpoint, you reevaluate looking at, now, if you guys don't do any annexation, you cut down on any capacity, then sure, your numbers from a 10-year study are gonna be good. But if you do what they're suggesting in the 10-year model, you know what growth will look like and whether or not you can fund it and how to fund it over a 10-year time period versus a 5.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One thing to really keep in mind with this before we even get to this point is my recommendations for rate increases are gonna be harder to swallow, harder for you guys to approve than what you actually wanna approve. You're going to have to, we're gonna have to get to that rate improvement over time and not jump to it. I don't know what your rates are, in the minute details right now, but operating and maintaining these systems, especially wastewater, is very expensive.
No one is adequately
Yeah,
prepared
no,
for
you can't be.
utilizing rates, which is why you're
Yep.
using general funds. And that's not sustainable in the long term.
And you're relying on, loans and grants and things like that, as you should, that's the right way to do that, but, while I mentioned that, I wanna just throw a bug in here on these rate studies. This is exactly what you should be doing right now, is a rate study, especially because in the long term, we're seeing a trend to where the, grant programs are diminishing and they want more self-reliance, and that's where you come from on these user rate systems. And my understanding is that we want to get these rates implemented January of next year. So, obviously, the sooner we get cranking on this, the better information we can provide you, the more time you have to make decisions.
Has this been presented to the water board, or are you just presenting it to us?
It's appropriate for the board to decide the scope and amount of expenditure. You would be able to defer that to the water board. Once you've made that decision, then it would come to the water board to look at what they're doing. But the water board is advisory, and this is an expenditure decision that is really outside of the scope of advisory.
On our initial RFQ, we did have a potential meeting with the water board if it was decided on by the board of aldermen. So if the board of aldermen wanted the rate to be presented to the water board, that was in the original RFQ, but it's obviously up to the board, so.
Any other questions for me?
So I just asked, it's not good for me to sit by Gina or Wes. So
For now.
So I did ask if this was in our budget, and she said that we do have it in professional, that I think we've already somewhat planned that we knew.
I thought we had planned ahead, because I thought we had talked about it last year. We knew we were gonna be doing this again.
Well, I know originally Wes had thought he might be able to pull some of that together, but then when we talked budget, he kind of backed that.
That got
It was a
vetted.
little more.
That got vetted before it came to you, because
Yeah.
I know you guys cannot enter into a contract.
Yeah, that was Holly's question. You know Joyce is gonna ask.
And I knew you would check on that, but I can't approve a resolution. I can't sit here and let you guys enter into a contract when you don't have the funds. Because these are front loaded. I mean, you're saying, I want this study, you're gonna pay that up front, and then you're gonna get, and we're talking a 2-month turnaround. It's not like money's gonna rain in the next 2 months. So you have to have it allocated and budgeted before you can enter into the contract. And that's what's before you tonight, deciding between those two contract amounts. So when you do make the motion, it would be a motion to approve the resolution with the 39,500 amendment. Because if you see on the second page, that was the option between those two, so that's how you would do it.
I don't think $15,000 is worth us taking the brunt. He could be the PR man on it. That's my selling point.
Well,
I don't know, the 4x6 car makes him really the PR man, but.
It's the assumption versus the rate analysis, so it's either you guys thinking,
broader scope.
yeah, it's you guys thinking about it on your own, or saying an expert came and said, here's where you're at. And that does make your decision-making, in the right scope. You should have an expert who tells you.
I mean, in the last one, I fully believe that in town and out of town, from everything I have read and studied, was viable, and so I think again, instead of just assuming that rate, I think it's worth doing the study. I make a motion that we approve this for the 10-year, $39,500.
Second.
I have a first, I have a second. Alder Hilliard?
Yes.
Alder Hill?
Yes.
Alder King?
Yes.
Alder Lancaster?
Yes.
Alder Matheson?
Yes.
Alder Wilson?
Yes.
It has passed.
Thank you guys, appreciate you.
Thanks for
Working with you. I'll see you in a little bit.
Thanks.
All right, item number 7 is for a discussion, so we can all openly discuss, some issues going on with the recycling center.
My nightmare, yeah, it is.
Why can't people decide to throw trash just because there's not a container beyond me?
So while you're saying this,
Yeah, I saw that the other day too.
I have some
Are we
very,
able to full lips?
right.
Off box.
Oh, I looked. I do have one that I sent to the cops and had them look at it, but police officers, yes. Okay, so in these pictures, you can see boxes are not being broken down, which takes up a lot of space. There's a laundry basket. We have someone left their trash sitting out there, not broken down, of course. They even left their mailing address and all their mail in it. This is after a weekend. I went by on a Monday. Smeared off cans, Dr. Pepper cans, all kinds of stuff, just thrown wherever. This is on a Thursday, right before pickup. So you can see, like, it's not totally full, like everybody keeps calling and saying it is. It is pretty much recycles. There are, oops, sorry. So, like I said, these last 4 were on a Thursday. The problem is, we are paying double what we were going to pay because we've added a second container and we're adding a second pickup based on everybody's been going up there and dumping and everything else. So our recycle money is way bigger than what we signed as a contract.
And we don't have pictures of the dead dog. Trevor didn't get that one.
Yeah, he didn't get that to me.
I was gonna say that, they like electronics in there. like-
Well, the one day that I went up there to drop off my cardboard, which I did break down, by the way.
Good job, thank you.
And I want you to know that sometimes it's very hard for a short person like me to get my cardboard up on the top where it was full, because it was full to the top. But there were aerosols, you know, like spray
Yep.
paint, things that should not even go in regular trash, much
Right.
less in recycling.
There was a story the other day on the news that a guy got sprayed with a paint can. Did you see that?
Exploded in the
Yeah,
face.
it exploded in his face,
That's all
but
right.
Yeah.
there's stuff like that all through here.
Yeah.
The point is, this is a free service to the city.
Yeah.
And we are having to send people out to clean this up. Our recycle is double. I have
Back up, free service to the
citizens.
people of the
Yes.
city, not the
It's
city
the
budget.
community.
Right, the city budget's paying for it, but as of right now, we're looking at $45,000 a year for this recycling service the way it is.
For trash service is really what it's
Well, that's the
turning
problem.
into.
We're not, we don't have the manpower to run a landfill.
That's what I was gonna say,
You
we're
know,
not.
Parks doesn't wanna deal with it.
Our staff to go over and
Public-
clean up.
Public Works cannot spare someone to go over there every day to pick up dead dogs out of the bin, trash, paint cans.
And people can get it at their house, I mean, you can haul it somewhere else. I hate to say that, but when it's mistreated. I have called Republic Services to see about getting a quote, cause the one we had before had trash and recycling on it, so we got a discount. Now that we're using a different trash company, we will not get that discount, so I'm waiting on a quote from them to see how much Republic Services will keep. But this GFL one is double what we thought, because citizens have been throwing whatever they want in it. And we had to add a container and we've had to do 2 pickups. Right now, it's being picked up on Monday and Fridays, because the weekends were so bad. that we had to up the pickups.
But it's not sustainable. Your 45 did not include the cost of employees going out and doing.
Right. None of that.
So are we in contract for 12 months or?
Actually, I've talked to Riley at GFL and she knows that she might lose us, that we won't.
What are we?
I'm looking.
So for tonight, I mean, that's why I wanted to put on the agenda, just so we could discuss it, so you guys would be aware in case you were, there have been police reports made because we found copious amounts of mail with people's names and addresses on it, so we've made police reports. At one point, well, I'll leave that alone.
We were supposed
So-
to have $10,500 a year is what we,
That's quadruple.
yeah,
What-
that's what we were looking at when we first sent out the RFQ and everything.
So I think we'll just do a press release or Facebook post or whatever, trying to plead with people to, do the right thing. Because at some point, if this continues, we're gonna have to, you guys are gonna have to make the decision on whether or not we keep it or not. Or allocate all the money that it's gonna take to deal with it. And trust me, we have a lot bigger priorities than picking up trash after people. So.
You would tolerate quite a bit, but.
And it's a service, I know that, 99% of the people, they abide by the rules, they enjoy the service, it's important.
I get fired up watching stuff come out of car window. This really hits me.
Yeah.
I've been going up there 3 times a week, and that's how I've gained these pictures, was going up on Monday morning and seeing how it looked after the weekend, going up on Thursday, and we went up this morning just to check it out, to see how it looked good this morning, but we got there right after they emptied. I thought they'd be a little later in the day, but we got there right after they emptied, but
Anyway, I just want everybody to know about it, so we can talk about it and put it out there, and hopefully some concerned people would see the agenda and maybe self-police a little bit.
and there are some people wanting to recycle glass, and glass does not go to the recycling center, and you don't leave it by the trash can. I have found pickle jars sitting by the trash cans, outside the trash cans, and we have to bring them back and throw them away, because they can't go in the recycle, so
Thank you, Gina.
you're welcome.
All right, any new business?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I met with Trevor this last week, and so I met with Trevor this last week, and we took some time to go through the streets survey that was done earlier, I believe in the year, to see kind of where we stand with our plan for road repairs. And, we're gonna kind of work on getting something to bring to the board, but he has to get a shared drive so that he can send it, or he's gonna have to present it. So,
And
I know. That we're thinking that with the funds that we have with OTO, we should be able to, because what they did is they created a 5-year plan. And I think that with the funds that we have with OTO that we do not want to lose out on. And Wes had said that our budget should be fairly solid to be able to hit that match. And I need to meet with Gina and find out for sure, but he thought it looked like we'd be at a point where we'd be able to meet that match. And we should be able to do years 1 and 2 all together, which is gonna go a long ways to get some road repairs getting cleaned up here in Willard. So,
I'm all for it.
and Matt thought that at the same time, we might be able to do some sidewalk repairs alongside those roads. So,
Yeah, we're in dire need.
Yeah, big time.
Is that all, ma'am? Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Anything with the downtown parking or that?
We went down and met with Darla and Mike and Trevor, and we looked at some things, kind of eyeballed a few things, and on Thursday, Mike and Trevor are gonna meet with the engineers over the details of Osage, and what I would like, on Jackson is an approximate number of what that might cost us, so that way we can decide how we're gonna move forward.
when you say Osage, are you talking about the speed bumps or
Yeah,
whatever.
traffic, yeah.
Yeah, some people were asking about that.
Yes, they're gonna meet Thursday to go over hopefully the details and what it's gonna take to actually
We should have some hard numbers on not only Osage, but on the
on Jackson.
Jackson. They should have a survey this week on that.
Oh, good, yeah, I'm surprised they got that survey so fast.
Oh,
You
so
got an in, don't you?
we sold them. I got a kidney to get there, but
So we decided to go ahead and do a survey just to be safe. To make sure that we don't step on anybody's toes and putting asphalt on someone else's property that we shouldn't be putting asphalt on, if that's the route we go. So that way we'll have a clear boundary. Anything else, Jeremy? All right, anything under unfinished business? All right,
I make a motion, we recess the meeting,
Jeremy?
adjourn, sorry, it says recess on the.
Yeah, we canceled 10 through.
Yeah.
10 through 14, so it was.
I have a first, I have a second, all clear?
Yes.
Teal? On the team? All in favor? We are adjourned. I just like to say all you guys' names.